All right, here we go. 9 o'clock Eastern on this Saturday night, the 6th of June, 2026. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, as we get you ready for tomorrow's race in Michigan, the FireKeepers Casino 400. And it's only once a year, 2-mile track, so it's a biggie. And don't forget to check out our show that we produce and air live every Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern, right here on Proline TV. CJ Radoon is my co-host. He's our lead NASCAR analyst from rotowire.com. There is a link in the description of this video where you can check out his official report, his official DFS report at rotowire.com. And we're going to give you our official DFS picks in just a little bit, care of Draft Kings. So that's coming up just before we wrap. That'll be the last thing we do here. We have our picks that we put together on Tuesdays, and I'll give you the picks right now. This is what CJ went with on Tuesday. Denny Hamlin, he had the first pick. Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski. I had the second pick. I went with Gibbs, Briscoe, Zane Smith. So basically the way we do it, you can pick whoever we want with our first pick. Second pick can't be like a single digit favorite. And then the third pick has to be a long shot. Okay, so what we talked about on Tuesday, let's pop up where should we go first? Yeah, let's pop this up. Which one do we go with first? Here's practice. I don't know. Should we start with practice? We'll start with practice. Okay. Remember, if you're with us on Tuesday or not, we talked about how this is a track where practice does not matter. If you look at the speed charts over the last 4 years, the next gen races, only last year when Denny Hamlin led late, remember there was a fuel mileage win last year, and this is a fuel mileage track. So he was, and that's usually the case for 2-mile tracks. So Denny Hamlin led late, led like the last 5 laps or something like that. That's all he led, and won the race. And if you look at it overall, his his actual ranking in practice last year was 8th. It was the fastest practice for a winner. Next gen Michigan. The other speeds were 11th, 14th, and 21st. So again, it doesn't really matter as much as qualifying. That matters. The last 3 winners have started 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. All right. So the other thing that was really important that we noted on Tuesday night was the dominance of Toyota. And we had a similar situation last week. They might want to split up these 2 tracks, Nashville and Michigan, because Toyota's been dominant at both of them. And now they finally got the win last week at Nashville, which we kind of remember. We talked about that. That was like, come on, they had to get a win, especially the way Saturday looked. And now we come to a racetrack where the same thing has applied, except that Toyota does have wins here already. So if you look at it, let's see. Toyota has dominated all 4 next-gen Saturdays and the last 2 Sundays. Okay, so Ford had been the dominant manufacturer here. Matter of fact, they had won 9 straight races at Michigan up until 2024. Then Toyota took over. Not only did they have really good Saturdays those first couple of weeks in next gen, first couple of years, but then the last couple of years, they continued to dominate Saturdays and Sundays, winning the last 2 races. Now, Chevy, where does that lead Chevy? Not in a good spot. Chevy has not won since 2017 in Michigan. That's 11 races. And and I'm usually the type that I don't mind throwing in a Chevy or 2, but for the most part, I think that just like last week, you've got to find Toyota drivers this week. So let's see if we can do that. And let's go ahead and pop up. Well, we've already done that. Let's pop up the practice here. And again, not the most important part of the day, but still, it's okay because it does matter. And here's why. Denny Hamlin, who had the 5th fastest in practice, had tire issues. Okay, tire issues. It came out that, well, he actually was able to come into the pits. They red flagged it for a minute or 2. He came in and he wasn't sure exactly how things were going to go in qualifying because of it. So we'll get that in just a minute. But that just shows you, again, yeah, it does matter because you got to go out there and practice. Sometimes it's not worth it. Okay, so what really sticks out in practice? Well, Toyota, okay. Toyota, as you can see here, they had the fastest car with Reddick. And overall, they didn't dominate. So Chevy was right up there with Toyota. You had Toyota 3 of the top 7 and Chevy 4 of the top 8. But the only difference is, the little bit of difference was Toyota did have the fastest car. Ford, only Chris Buescher was in the top 8. Okay, now let's throw the rest of the, as you can see, the rest. Joey Logano again outside the top 10 in a session. Gibbs, a little bit disappointing, 16th. Let's see, Keselowski, Briscoe, that's a disappointing run. And Bowman way back. Okay, now let's see what happened in qualifying after practice. Denny Hamlin. That's right. They weren't sure exactly how the car was going to work out. And Denny said it was a load, but it was fast. And they hit the pole. But yeah, that's right. It's going to the rear. And I have not seen any odds changing. Matter of fact, I believe the odds took a while to come out. Now, I don't know if it was because they wanted to wait and see what was going to go on with Hamlin and such, because, again, it hasn't moved, so maybe not. But Denny Hamlin, right now, and I can't show you what the odds look like at Bovada, but he's got the same odds that he's had since the odds came out for about an hour. So they don't, at this point, now, and I shouldn't say they, because it really will be up to the public. Now, they've given you the odds, and now between now and race time, I guess we'll find out what the general public thinks. I have to believe they'll move a little bit because he's going to start in the rear. And that's going to hurt somewhat. I mean, look, we saw Hamlin screw up last week. And is it possible that he's going to start at the rear again and win in back-to-back weeks? Sure. That could happen. Toyota's hot. Denny's hot. And it would be interesting storyline. Denny back-to-back weeks, basically starting in the rear, winning races. But we're talking about odds here of 3-1. And we'll go over those in just a minute. All right. So Carson Hocevar, very fast car. Matter of fact, I've already put money on him before the show. We'll get into that. And then you've got Toyota dominating qualifying. Now, Chevy was solid, 4 of the top 9, but Toyota was better. 4 of the top 5 plus the pole sitter, so to speak. Meanwhile, there you see Chevy with Hocevar second and Elliott, Larson, Byron. And there's Suarez as well. Okay. And then to Ford. Ford. You got to go all the way down to Chris Buescher. He's the first Ford. Not good. 14th. And then you got Zane Smith, and then you got Logano, Blaney. But, yeah, not good. Who else do we got here? Who else was disappointing? Brett Keselowski had a disappointing day. Priest really wasn't that fast. Matter of fact, we talked highly about Keselowski and that group and how we thought that they would have, based on history, that they would be a really good threesome that you'd want to keep an eye on for Ford. But right now, it's only Buescher that is showing he's got life. And we'll get into all the particulars. And then a major disappointing day as well for Shane Van Gisbergen and Austin Cindric. Chastain was fast in practice, but things are not going well for Ross Chastain. They just are not. Okay. Let me pop up the odds. Where do I have them? Or do I leave them over there? All right, here we go. We'll start with the top 10. Okay. And I'll get the rest in a minute. And so Denny Hamlin is the 3-1 favorite. And that has, again, it has not changed. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you going to bet someone at 3-1 that's going to start at the rear? It is hard enough to win a race in NASCAR. I mean, look, I honestly do not believe that Denny's odds would be lower if he was going to start first. I just don't think that's the case. I mean, we're not talking about a road course, SVG. NASCAR drivers don't go below 3-1 very often unless he's so much better than everyone else. That's just not the case. You know, there's more than enough Toyotas to go around, including Reddick. Reddick's got the same odds as Denny Hamlin, and he's starting third. So there's just no value right now. If you want to take Denny, then you have to wait until the very last minute. Check the odds, wait until you see if they will give you something, 450, 5-1, and then go ahead and take them if you like them. Hamlin was 3-1 last week and did start first. Okay, so you've got to find some value with Denny Hamlin if you want to go that route. Carson Hocevar. Now, that's already dropped to 10-1. That's why I wanted to grab him when I did, because I knew it would. And it might even continue to drop now that Denny's moving back, to the rear. So Hocevar's got a fast car, and we know he's a native. It's a big deal for him. If you take a look at his previous 2 starts here, this is clearly his best. He started 14th last year and 11th the year before that, and he led 32 laps last year. Not a good finish, but that's okay. Again, few mileage race. Bottom line is he had a solid car in this race last year, and he's going to have even a faster car. And this is one of the situations where, I've talked recently about, Hocevar winning a second race so soon. But we're starting to now get a little further away from that win, and that's good, I think, just average-wise. But also just because of everything that just works for Carson Hocevar, Michigan man, the fast car he's got. This looks really good for Carson Hocevar. And also probably a really good driver to put on your 6-driver team in fantasy. We'll get into it a little bit. Reddick. Now, Reddick, I'm not going to go with Reddick. The same reason I'm not going to go with him that we talked about on Tuesday. Because his average starting position is 9.6, but his average finish is 20.6. All right. So Tyler Reddick does not have a great history here outside of the win in 2024. If you look at it, he's only led 22 laps ever. All right. In his 7 races, cup races. And we talked about this as well. He's not, now that he's especially starting third, he is not a good fantasy driver. Is pretty bad, actually. He's raced here 7 times, and he's improved his position from qualifying to the race 1 time, and it was by 1 single spot. That's it, and that was the winning race in 2024 when he started second. He moved from second to first. All right, so. So I just look, the thing that he could do, because he's got a Toyota, he's going to be starting on the front row with Hocevar. What if he ends up taking that green early and leading laps? He's driving a Toyota. What if he can do that? Now, I think it's going to be hard to do with Hocevar on a restart. Carson's going to be looking at the chops there to make sure he's, big moment for him. But you never know. Maybe he'll be too excited. He'll jump, and I don't know, he's not going to pull a Denny Hamlin, but he could always, you get a little nervous there, and you could just do some damage sometimes that you don't want to do if you're a little bit impatient. So anything is possible, especially Reddick having a great season and driving a Toyota. So that's the thing you have to think about, but I think it's worth it, the gamble, to say, hey, Hocevar, he's going to get a better number when we talk about fantasy, a much better number, I got to believe, at least probably 1,000 or so. And and as long as he can just take that first green, first lap, then I think that maybe he can go ahead and lead some laps early instead of Reddick. But anyway, Reddick, 10 positions in his career average in the negative. Okay, 9.6 start, 20.6 average finish at this racetrack. Okay, then you've got Gibbs. Now, Gibbs was my first pick, and he's sitting there at 12-1. I think he might be down to 10-1 now. So again, another driver that I think you should try to get some money on now if you can. Of course, I already have money on him, so I'm in good shape. Average start 10.3, average finish 6.8. That's excellent. Throw in the fact that he has an O'Reilly win, 3 O'Reilly races, a couple top fives in a win, third here last 2 years. Okay, there's a lot to like about Ty Gibbs, who had a solid car in this race last year when he finished third. And same thing with Hocevar. I think even Gibbs now, let's go. Let's get win number 2. So again, Hocevar wasn't part of my picks or part of CJ's picks on Tuesday, but he's definitely a top pick here today, no question about it. Then you move on. Briscoe did not have a fast run in practice, but it doesn't matter. What matters is he's starting 5th. He was on the pole last year, and he doesn't have like a great history at this track. But remember, last year was the first time with Joe Gibbs. He led 11 laps and from the pole, did not have a good finish, but I don't really worry too much about that in fuel mileage races. He's been hit or miss in his last 7 races overall this season with top 5s or bad results. So it is a gamble, but the odds are okay. The thing is, there's a lot of drivers that are sitting there like around 10, 12-1. And so, you got to get lucky with those picks. Okay, now you got the 2 Chevys. You have Elliott and Larson. And Larson is definitely the one I would go with, even though Elliott is still in a better frame of mind on Sundays and still the results are better. So not only does he have the 2 wins, but Larson's doing, even just the last few races, Larson's doing better early. Elliott's doing better late. Elliott, his average start and finish all the same, right around the 10s. Really good day. 6th, qualifying 2nd in practice. So that's really good. He was 14-1 on Tuesday. As you can see here, he's now down to 10-1 because of the day he had. The problem is in his last 3 races here. Okay. He has no top 10s, finished 15th the last 2 years, and he's led 19 or more laps the last 2 years, starting 17th or 6th. Now here he's starting 6th once again, and he led 29 laps the year he started 6th a couple of years ago. So, and it's interesting because last year, where did he finish? 15th. Last year is one of those situations where, again, it's a fuel mileage race. He was leading the race. He needed the caution. Didn't come. He had a pit. And really, that's what happened to William Byron as well. He would have ran out of gas. He had to lead late. He had a pit. And Byron, might as well just jump over to Byron in just a minute. But anyway, Larson, I like Larson a little bit better if you look at it, even though he was dominant here for 3 years with the 3 wins. That was a while ago, not next gen. But still, 5 top 10s in his last 6 with 4 top 5s, 8 top 5s overall at this racetrack. Okay. And just keep this in mind because this is important. I don't want to mix you up, but the top 10s in the last 6 have come at this racetrack with 4 top 5s. Average start, 13th. Average finish, 11.9. So pretty similar to Elliott. Elliott's been just a little bit better, but still pretty similar. But if you take a look at Larson when he qualifies well, or he qualifies outside the top 10, it's usually on average when he qualifies in the top 10, he has a really good car as well here. And so that's kind of what I was looking at And I kind of liked his odds. I think I was able to get him at Bovada at 9-1 earlier in the week. And so I took advantage of that. And because I thought that was a pretty fair number, pretty good number, actually. He's dropped down just a little bit to 8-1 here. So it's not like I made out or anything. But got to keep this in mind. One top 20 in his last 5 races this year. So even though he's had a better run lately, early in races, it's still not resulting a whole lot when it comes down to winning races or even being there at the end. So that's a problem. But again, when I was at 9-1, I felt good. If it's 8 or 7-1, I'm a little bit more hesitant, especially since Elliott is a pretty good alternate. Byron, meanwhile, is also 10-1. And if you take a look at William Byron, what he did in this race last year, I mentioned that he almost won this race. He actually had the best car. So it just didn't work out. And these things happen. A lot of times when it's a fuel mileage race, the best car is not going to win. And he had the best car, but like I said, he had a pit for gas late, and that was it. He has not had a top 5 in his last 7 races. That's not good. 4 of those races have been in the 30s. That's even worse. His average start to his average finish is in the negative by about 3.5. So that's also not very good, especially since his average start is only like about 13th. He has 2 top 5s here in his career, but that's it in 11 races. So last year was really just, it came from nowhere, really, how good he looked. But he's not the same driver at this point that he was at this point last year when he finished second from the 9th position. That's exactly where he's starting in this one tomorrow. All right. Byron was 14-1 or something like that earlier in the week. So the odds are not in your favor if you didn't take him on Tuesday. Now there's Eric Jones before we move on. And Eric was definitely one of the long shot drivers that we both looked at. You've got a Toyota. That's number 1. You have a driver that really seems to be in a good state of mind right now. He's got 3 top 15s in his last 4 races. He's only had 1 top 5 here in his career in 13 races, but really good fantasy driver. 21.2 average start, 11.2 average finish. Add it up. You know what the deal is. Throw in the fact that he's gained 40 positions in next gen, and that is rather excellent. So Jones, really good starting position, a little bit slower in practice. We don't care about that. And being at the home track, the way he's going, I think he is an excellent must play in fantasy. I just would be surprised if most people didn't feel the same way. So you take Jones. I think a lot of people will probably take Eric Jones this week. Okay, now let me pop in the top contenders. All right, let's see. I noticed we have a couple of comments. Don't forget, if you have any questions, comments, just let me know what's on your mind. All right, Andrew is going to bet Reddick and Larson. Okay. I mean, if you do that, that's probably what you have to do. Just maybe throw in a long shot. I mean, Reddick is just still the man. And I'm sure he'd like to have another win. It's been a few weeks. So, yeah. And he's in a much better position now than Hamlin, as I mentioned, being that he will start up front compared to Denny Hamlin, who's going to start way back. Okay, so let's get to the top contenders. And there's Daniel Suarez, who had a pretty decent day today. What's important, though, is I don't think he's going to win. And unlike Hocevar and Gibbs, where I can say, okay, I think it's time for them. Maybe they can win another race. Not so much with Daniel Suarez. I don't see that. But he is a good fantasy driver. As we said the other day, Daniel Suarez, in his last 3 races, all good results, top 15s, 2 top 10s, average, and that's next gen, of course. Average start 20.3, average finish 9.3. He's gained 33 spots the last 3 races. And he also led 33 laps in the 2022 race when he started 25th and finished 6th. So here he starts 11th. It's really what you don't want to see fantasy-wise. You'd prefer to see him a little bit further back, gain positions. I don't know if he'll be able to lead a lot of laps, but in fuel mileage races, there will be laps to be led by obscure drivers. So anything's possible, really. So he's not the worst idea. He's going to be a good bargain. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Herbst. I mean, I've talked about Herbst a lot this year, about the fact that he's looking really good for a long shot driver, that he's making small steps, and that's good to see. And he may have to win a race to save his position here with his team, but I think he's at least going in the right direction. There was not a whole lot for us to go on as far as history here going into this week, with the exception of O'Reilly. And he has 3 top 10s in 5 O'Reilly races. So at least he's had some sort of experience in a positive way here. Nothing wrong with that. But he had a good day. Both his runs were in the top 12th and 11th for Riley Herbst. And most importantly, he's driving a Toyota. Okay. Wallace was someone that we looked at as an interesting long shot, but I don't really think we're getting much value here. Let's see, what were his odds on Tuesday? He was right about the same thing on Tuesday. He's 20-1 here. And yeah, he was 7th at practice, but we don't care as much. 13th, I want a little bit more than that at 13th. I mean, 13th is fine, but at 20-1, no. I mean, for a driver that's been struggling lately, I want more than that. His average starting position here also is 6.5. Now, that's probably one of the best for Bubba. And yet he's starting 13th. So that's actually a negative. So he's actually starting slower than he normally does here. Now, and he actually, if you look at it, it was the 2022 race where he actually finished in 2nd place. He was on the pole. And actually, what was he? He was 2nd from the pole in 2022 and 4th from the 9th position last year. Okay, so he's got some really good results coming in here the last couple of races, but he had much better starting positions than he has right now. And in his last 3 races overall, coming in 22nd, 29th, and 32nd. Not what you want to see, but he's driving a Toyota. That's a plus. The only problem is, fantasy-wise, he's one of those middle drivers that we've often talked about. The middle drivers, I don't like them. Okay, Buescher, he got off to a really good start today. 4th fastest in practice. He was the fastest in Group 1. Group 2, the top 3 actually ended up overall. That was Larson, Elliott, and Reddick in the opposite way. Buescher, though, was disappointing to qualify 14th after the good run in practice. Because Buescher's got a win here in 2023, but when he won the race in 2023, he started 4th, and then he started 18th in 2024 and finished 6th, and he started 6th last year and finished 2nd. So whenever he starts really good, he's contending for a win. This is not a really good start, but he's the best Ford, and 16-1 is okay. It's all right. I think it's right on the money. Anything less than that, not interested. And I think this is fine. So he's not a bad idea. And then you have Zane Smith. That's my official long shot. And I mentioned that I thought that his odds, when we talked about it on Tuesday, was really disrespectful at 100-1. And so I gobbled that up. And I'm kind of surprised that he's still 80-1, to tell you the truth. Now, maybe that's because he did not qualify in the top 10, but I'm not so sure I was expecting it. I mean, he qualified 10th last year. That's it. And 27th the year before that. Where did he finish? 7th in both races. He's got top 10s in both races at Michigan. He's gained 23 spots in both races. He was a top 10 car all race last year. So it wasn't like, he came back late and he stole top 10. No, he was a top 10 car all race last year. And in his last 2 starts, as we know, what happened last week, but even the week before, top 10. So there's a lot of top 10s going on for Zane Smith. And I just think and now we got a fuel mileage race. So maybe we'll get someone that'll time it perfectly. They almost timed it well last week. So, yes, I still really think Zane Smith is an excellent option as a long shot. Logano and Blaney, well, forget Logano. I mean, until Joey just starts doing something, because nobody knows what's going on with Joey. No laps led in his last 6 races at Michigan. And overall in his last 3 here, no top 10s. 2 outside the top 20, so 22nd and 33rd the last couple of years. And he does not have a top 5 this year in his last 7 races. Blaney, on the other hand, should not be discounted because, as we often say, Ryan Blaney does not normally have great Saturdays. So I wouldn't worry too much about his 19th position. He did practice 9th, but I still don't really like him this week. The only thing that I do like are the odds at 16-1. It's very rare you get 16-1 with Blaney because they're not really fooled by his slow speeds on Saturday. But since Ford has had a really bad day, then I think that might be a part of it. So, but look, 16-1 is a number you don't often get with Blaney. If you look at his history here, he won just before the next gen. So he does have good history here with 5 top 5s in a win. And he actually had a pretty fast car last year, but he had really bad, he couldn't handle the car very well and eventually ended up in a wreck. 4 straight top 11s coming in. So he's coming in feeling pretty good, but an average start of 10.4 and an average finish of 15.4 is another reason why I'm not going to take him in fantasy. Brad Keselowski, though, is Keselowski and Priest, these next 2 are really good fantasy picks. Now, I think Keselowski is a slam dunk. I think you have to take Keselowski in your fantasy pools. If you take a look at his history here, not only is he a Michigan man, but he has 9 career top 5s in 28 races, and he's never won at his home state before. You know how that's probably eating at him. But check this out. And his average start in next gen is 21.7. His average finish is 8.5. And during that stretch, he's finished in the top 15 in all 4 races, top 10s in 3 of the 4, top 5s in 2 of the 4, and he's gained 53 spots in the next gen. 53. So this is where you want to see him, 26th. Gobble up those positions. And 40-1 must play in both areas, fantasy and throw a couple of long shot dollars on him. Now, he's not racing as good as he was earlier in the year. He hasn't had a top 5 in his last 8, just one of those a top 10. That's the disappointing part. But fantasy-wise, you still have to go that way anyway. But the reason why I still think he's worth throwing a few bucks is because it's a big number. It's 40-1. We're not talking about 20 or 25-1. Ryan Preece, his teammate, is also someone you should be considering in fantasy because of where he's starting. Now, this is exactly where he should start. Okay, Ryan Preece, if you look at Preece in his last 2 years, he started 23rd and 26th. So he's starting 27th. What has he finished? 9th and 11th. He's gained 35 spots in the last 3 years, Ryan Preece has. And he has never led a lap here, though, so you have to keep that in mind. A couple top 10s, that's it. But again, Buescher, Keselowski, Preece, even though Keselowski and Preece didn't have big days today, that's being kind. Fact is, I still think they could be a big difference tomorrow in fantasy. And then you have Chastain. You can't take Chastain. You just can't. I mean, until Ross Chastain can finish a race in the top 10 and show some signs that he's headed in the right direction again, it's just not worth it. I don't know. No. Matter of fact, I didn't understand why he was getting 28-1 on Tuesday. We talked about it then. It made no sense. You give way too much respect for Ross Chastain on a Tuesday, and now he's sitting here exactly where he belongs at 50-1. Okay. The good thing is he practiced 6th. But again, it is what it is as far as the historical stats. At 50 to 1, though, I will say, hey, now you want to throw a buck on or two if you're a Ross Chastain guy, go ahead. Before at 28 or 25, there was no value, no way, but now you're getting the number you deserve, that you should be getting. Other drivers that we do not have on here, you should keep note of. Actually, there's a couple others. Let's see. Bowman, really slow, not good here, so no good. Cindric, same thing. Terrible fantasy driver here. Forget it. But Stenhouse, Ricky Stenhouse is the one guy that you should keep an eye on. That was not on the board here, not to win, but for fantasy. He only has one career top 10 here in 21 races, but he's gained 33 positions in the last 3 races here. And if you look at it, he started 30th, 30th, and 27th in those last 3 races. And now he's playing 23rd. Okay. And his practice speed was 18th. All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the fantasy drivers from DraftKings. All right. Let's do some shopping here. Let's go all the way down here first. I'm going to see what kind of bargain drivers we have. Okay. Well, here's Herbst. That's one bargain. I don't know if I want to. Let's put him in there for now. Let's see. There's Stenhouse. Again, we talked about Stenhouse. But there's a lot of options here. There's Zane. Definitely going with Zane. Okay. He's cheap. 16th is good. You can gain, again, for if he just finishes 7th again, it's 9 positions. And I got a cheap one. All right. Let's see. Who else? And yeah, we got to get some more. Oh, there's Jones. I think he's a definite one right there at 73. Priest is a really good option as well at 75. Also, Suarez. Price is starting to go up now. Keselowski, we want to take him. Okay, and there's Hocevar. We want to take him. I'm running out of spots, but that's okay. And out of all these drivers here, I'd probably take Gibbs. Okay, so this is where we're going to start off with. So we only have we have 2 top drivers that we really like, Hocevar and Gibbs, and we're paying for it. But we've got 4 bargains here. All right, now Jones and Keselowski and Hocevar are all Michigan natives, so that helps. And I like the way Jones is going. I like the way Smith is going. We love Keselowski's numbers here. And I think the only one would be Herbst. So let's take him off. I still like Herbst. He practiced and qualified well today. He's driving a Toyota. And I don't need him. Okay, because I already have 3. I've got 2. Well, really just, yeah, I got kind of 2 long shots, kind of. But I've got 9,800 now to work with. And that means I can go with Chase Briscoe, which is awesome. Because I really like him. And maybe he's even overdue. And I would have to say at this point, he might be the one I go with. Because again, I don't need any more long shots. That's probably what I'm going to do. Let's put him in there. So there you go. I think that's what we're going with. This was our second pick, and this was our first and second pick. We got all 3 of our picks from Tuesday. Gibbs, Briscoe, and Zane Smith. They've done nothing to change my mind. And then Hocevar again. I think Hocevar is the one driver that I feel the best about today compared to Tuesday. So I'm glad I can get him. And then we talked about Jones and Keselowski as 2 really good fantasy drivers. They're both natives. And they're both going to be determined to have a good day. And Jones has been having a good day. I'm glad the one driver that's been having the toughest time lately is the driver that I've got in 26th. So I don't need him to have a superb day. I just need him to move up 10, 15 spots if he can. And history says he'll do that. And there you go. So again, you want to take a look at some other bargains. There's Suarez is one of them at 77. Priest is another at 75. Stenhouse is at 65. and Herbst is at 55. Herbst is the cheapest. So if you really want to, like, if you want to go with Reddick, if you want to go with Denny Hamlin, you want to go with like the big money drivers, then you're going to really want a cheap driver. And I think Herbst is the best one. Okay. And that's going to wrap it up. So, and this was a late one too, without a race on Saturday night. There's no O'Reilly series. They're having a week off. Qualifying, I think, was over. What was it over? Like 7, something like that. 7:30, whatever. I think it was, when was it over? Yeah, I think it was about that. And you would have thought that, okay, let's go. No, they kept the odds away for like an hour. And that's disappointing, but here we are, all in the books, as always, for another Saturday night. And make sure you check out the links in the description of this video, because we've got the show on Tuesday you could check out. You can get all of our in-depth coverage of the race, especially in the point of view now, where you're going to be able to take a look at it with all the data from today's charts. So that's really a good way to do it, especially on a Sunday. You know, you want something to check out Sunday for breakfast. I think that's a way to do it. And then we will be back again next week and we're here every Tuesday. Okay. So remember that every Tuesday, CJ's got his vacation in the books. He doesn't go on vacation very often. He does it once a year. So that's out of the way. So I'm sure CJ, unless he's got some personal things going on or something happens at work, hopefully we'll have CJ with us once again all the rest of the way on Tuesdays at 4 Eastern. We will turn our attention to a Pocono racetrack next week. So we go to another long racetrack next week. And then comes the San Diego race, which, I'm kind of interested in. It's a street race. I'm not really, I'd rather see a street race than a road course, to tell you the truth. Some of these road courses lately are just boring the hell out of me, especially with SVG winning all of them. So I'm interested because I didn't really think Chicago was any good. So, hey, let's see how it is, because I don't think we'll have to deal with any weather issues like we did in Chicago. I mean, at least they picked a nice area. Not supposed to rain in San Diego at this time of year. So we should be good there. And speaking of rain, hey, we actually made it. No rain. So for the first time in a few weeks, we're able to give you some practice and qualifying data to help you with your picks. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you again on Tuesday. And then speaking of Proline TV, Jim Feist, Andy Iskoe will see you on the Jim Feist Show. That is at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. So you'll actually see them first before you see us. So it's every Tuesday, the Jim Feist Show at 1 o'clock. We come on at 4 o'clock with our NASCAR coverage. And if you're now, as far as golf is concerned, I'm not sure if I'll do a golf show this week. Definitely we'll do one the week after for the U.S. Open. And if you are into the NFL or college football, again, there's links in the description of this video where you can check out the other channel, the R-Lads channel, in which I do all of my NFL and college football interviews. So I do, all 32 team interviews from websites, writers, podcasters, representing all 32 NFL teams. And we're just digging in as many of the 138 FBS teams as I can get a hold of as far as contacts, people who follow those teams. I am going to bring on an interview. So we're making good headway. It's early. It's only now into June. So we still have July, August. We guess I got we're actually in July. Yeah. If you think about it, we have about 2.5 months before the season begins. So I'm going to really try to, we're not getting 138, but if I can get half, that'd be awesome. So anyway, we'll see you soon, either here on Proline TV or over at R-Lads with our football coverage. Enjoy the racing tomorrow. I hope it's a